Hello, this is Jeff from the Board State. I wanted to give you all a brief warning that the episode you're about to watch may have, well, definitely is going to have a little bit of profanity. It was a year-end recording that we did, and we invited one of our team members from Theory Crafters Games into the podcast. And we were drinking some apple juice, and oftentimes apple juice will sometimes while drinking apple juice you may say things that you didn't mean to. In this case, there's a little bit of profanity in it, and rather than go through the almost 4-hour recording, we we lazily just are going to put in a warning message here, or I am rather. All right, thanks so much for listening, and here's the show. Today is 12/1/21. It is 6:28 p.m. I am slightly inebriated. Jack is not slightly inebriated, and we have a special guest today. This is the Board
He's
State
very inebriated.
episode, not number. So we don't do we have a number for this one, Jack? No, I don't think we should. This is like a special edition of the Board State.
Episode 01, -01, or Alpha Legion.
So 2021.
Yeah, Alpha Legion. Episode Alpha Legion.
So this is a Board State. This is a mostly weekly podcast where we discuss game design for social good. We usually pick 5 articles of the week. We talk about these articles in depth, and these articles are gathered from the interwebs. And today we're doing a special episode. It is the day after the new year. And we picked 5. So I picked 5 topics that stood out to me, okay, from the entire year, which is really, really difficult. And then Jack picked 5 articles that stood out for him. Articles, not topics. Articles that stood out for him. And so I'm Jeffrey Vierra, aka Mr. V, and I'm joined with
Jack.
And then we have a special guest. We have a special guest today. So we've never been at full force on any of the episodes. We've always just kind of been teetering a little bit. But today we have the complete triumphant today. Who are you, sir?
I am Alika Span Naihe. I am the artist of our team. I am the weird guy, the conspiracy theorist, and the one that doesn't get games a lot. So Mr. V and Jack just guide me along in my adventures of learning about what games are and how I should be looking at them and playing them. And I'm just so grateful to be here. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of like I always say this thing, like my wife never says she's a gamer. Like, oh, I don't play any games. Yeah, she plays more game. She spends more time gaming every day, playing mobile phone games, right? So
yeah,
I think, yeah, I appreciate the self-deprecation, but you are definitely a gamer. Yeah. So also, we are. I'm not going to show exactly what beverage. So I've had a little bit so far, but we are celebrating the new year. It's 2021. So far so good, and we're having a few cups of apple juice here. So let's just do a cheers to our episode before we start. All right, cheers. That was full before you started.
It sure was. We're just starting now.
All right.
This is full just a little while ago.
Yeah, we did a little pre-show talk story. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna go with Jack's article first. It's gonna be from NPR, Jack. Wow, little NPR, and I'm gonna say it with an NPR voice. Video games don't have to be educational to spark learning. Jack, what is this article about?
Here to
review this with us is Mr. Jack Hobbes. I just want to know what you think, Jack. Thank you for being here. And tell
So
us what's going on.
basically about this article, most of my articles I'm doing a little story, and for this one, this was the very first article that I did and found out about, that's talking about history, a topic that I love so much, and how gaming was associated with that and how it's helping in that way. In particular, the Assassin's Creed series. And for me, this article actually led me down to the esports and finding out more about that, and finding out more about just what is schools, not just in the college level, doing, but in all levels are trying to do to use gaming for, and how like history, it could change for the betterment, and the potential ideals that is still out there that many game developers haven't touched. So this was really just me just going back to, well, I first like saw my passions collide in a beautiful harmony. But the article itself is
Oh,
really awesome to read because it's also then it's though it has a very heavy focus on Assassin's Creed, it does give other representations. For example, Roblox is still a major thing in a lot of kids' lives, and it's also going to be another tool where teachers are going to be using in the future. And there is actual like mini games on Roblox now to support this game, and so on and so forth. So it I highly encourage, if you're a student in particular, to read this. So you have more opportunities for you, because now you knowing what other schools are doing, you are more informed about what gaming has to offer, not just for your life, but also everyone in your immediate proximity, whether that's your friends, your teachers, and even your parents. And yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I was gonna pick this. This was gonna show up on my list as well. I had to like, I mean, I started out with like
wow.
something articles. Yeah, it was really hard to. I mean, and I had to like distill down. Like every article I took, I was like, there was like pain ripping them out. The reason why I wanted to put this article um, be part of my top 5 articles of the list. And by the way, listeners, we're going from 5 to 1 as like our least favorite. I mean, not least favorite, but like the bottom of our top picks will be from 5, and then 1 being like the article that blew us away. Um, this article was close to number 2 or number 1 because it completely shifted my mindset around any Assassin's Creed game. After Jack picked this article, which was like, I don't know, 5 months ago or whatever, it was some time ago. I remember when we were done recording, like me and my wife, we went out and ate because we normally pick out on Saturdays. And when we came home, I'm like, okay, we need to sit down and watch some Assassin's Creed YouTube videos. Like I just needed to like learn more about it. And yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, the title alone, right? Video games don't have to be educational to spark learning. Like that's so important. Like you don't have to design a game that's about math to teach math, right? You don't have to design a game specifically to teach you history to teach you history. And it's cool. So like Katie goes through this article, and she's writing this article, and she begins from like a place where she wasn't the best student, and like what Assassin's Creed did for her was really spark interest in learning, right? Yeah, so so just I'll just a couple of quotes that it really stood out to me. When I was a teenager playing Ubisoft Assassin's Creed series, I definitely wasn't looking to learn things, but with 11 made Assassin's Creed games, all set up during different times and places in histories like Egypt, Greece, and America during the Revolutionary War, I was bound to learn something, even if just by accident. And I definitely did. So inadvertently, you kind of she was kind of tricked to kind of like, as you're in these environments, almost as if like as a tourist, you go somewhere, like Spain or like whatever, right? And or even like Montana. And again, no bigs in Montana. Sorry, I'm not trying to put down Montana, but I'm just giving you like a rate.
Even Montana.
Right, even Montana. But being in Montana, I would be like, wow, why is there so many cows here? Like, oh, interesting. You begin to take in the terroir, of that locale. Yeah, just one more thing. Again, I've notes on this article. I was gonna put it in, so I have so much invested in this. One day, my history teacher passed out blank maps of the Caribbean. Surprise! It was a quiz I had forgotten about. We had to label countries and major cities. Luckily, I'd been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, set in the Caribbean during the golden age of piracy in the early 18th century. So I was able to draw on my life as a pirate to fill in the map, and I got an A. Oh, it's so cool, dude. That's so cool. So anyway, fantastic article, Jack. Great way to start out the show. Alika, you've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed. You've been living in Egypt.
Oh yeah.
You've been spending some time in Egypt. What are your thoughts on this article, man?
Absolutely spot on. I loved it, and I love the title too, because it puts you in a mindset where it's not like a review of Assassin's Creed. It's not anything about the pros and cons of Assassin's Creed the game. It's simply stating that a game doesn't have to be educational to teach you something, and I think that's such a great idea, like a great title to put the reader's mindset in, the most receptive mindset for this information. Because like I learned how to work on cars with or how cars worked really through Gran Turismo and Forza. I learned a lot of stuff out of video games. I learned about like military stuff through playing Splinter Cell. Just seeing like, oh, does this actually happen, and then doing my own research. So video games are always a source of education for me, or they always were. So I love this article, and just like how she was talking about being able to walk into class and redraw a map of the Caribbean, like that is so badass. And the fact that like I used to love ancient Egypt, so I would spend a lot of time just watching documentaries either through Netflix or ordering them or going on YouTube, just all about ancient Egypt and the pyramid. How the pyramids are built, the mysteries of everything. Loved it. So for them to make a game where you get to create your own story about what you're doing in that environment, that is how you really make it educational, where the player creates their own story. Because if you make it too on the rails, then it's an educational game, and then it automatic. I'm turned off. Like I don't care anymore. So this article really showcased the massive potential of video games to teach something, but not by being designed education, by just being designed well and letting a player play, and then they can learn something about the place. Just do your homework as a designer.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So that was by. Oh, you got some closing
go ahead,
comments,
Jack.
Oh, yeah.
I just to show that I didn't want it to take. I knew you guys was going to do that, so yeah, I kept mine short. Okay, bye.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Hey,
okay.
Thank you, Jack, for keeping yours short. So gracious of you, Jack. Thank you for giving us space to really talk about our thoughts.
So that was Video Games Don't Have to Be Educational to Spark Learning by NPR.com. All right. Next article. So this is one that I picked. I know you remember this one, Jack. This one really hit home with me, man. Like I was thinking about this one the whole day when we were when we talked about this many podcast episodes ago. And it is Video Games Against Violence: How One Nonprofit is Creating Change by the HollywoodReporter.com. Jack, I don't know if you remember this article, but what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, I remember this bloody article.
Yeah.
And honestly, in this article, some of these articles I would recommend a word of caution before reading, but it's not to like or avoid this article, but just know that some of the things they're going to talk about is going to be real stuff. For this article in their case, I'm just gonna read a quote, okay? I really had no idea that, quoting from the article, um, from the main guy they were interviewing, I really had no idea that teen dating violence was the issue that it is. It wasn't on my radar, he tells the horror reporter. The goal of General Anna's group at the time was to increase awareness about potential dangerous situation, provide educational resources so that other parents could recognize red flags and get help. Like, this is from someone who experienced great loss and using this that same loss to not be compelled to do anything about it and just relent or be remorseful of like or what he could have done to try and prevent that situation. He instead used that same energy and that same passion into trying to make a group that also does annual video games challenges with developers to try and help not just parents but all of us understand the whole cause and effects of teen violence. And this was about to be on my top five. It really was, mainly because of the implications this article had on me after this. Because now I'm looking for articles like this talking about not just these organizations, but in particular the people who runs them and who makes them what they are, for good or bad. And going down, going some more, I'm going to do one more quote. And this quote is coming from the same dude who created this organization. And quote from the article: "When I tell them actually we're using them to try and prevent violence, there's a lot of skepticism involved." Says Crescent,
Vicente?
C-R-E, yeah, Crescente.
Yeah, his Drew
And so
Vicente.
when I do see that, it really does connect with young people. If they write a review and then they say, wow, at the end of the game, I realized there was actually this important message behind it. And I see how it all fits together. And that really mattered to me. We're going to see more guys like this and girls like this in the near future. And they're going to use loss and pain, but not for negatively, but in a positive way. So yeah.
Whew. What else can I add to what you already said, Jack? I mean, you said it very eloquently and well. So maybe just a little bit about the article. So Drew Casente's high school daughter, Jennifer Ann, was killed by an ex-girlfriend. And shortly after her death, I think 2 years after, I think it was in 2008. So there was some soul searching and maybe pain, that he was going through. He decided to channel that into making games. Or first, he created this website and the website, and then started making games about raising warning signs, because from our generation, or some of us, that's for most of us, games were solace to us, right? It was kind of this cool place to go and escape to, and you sort of control all the variables, but the longer you play the game, the more control you have over the game, because your skill set in that game increases. So I feel like this was part of his vernacular. This was something that he knew is like, shit, I know games. Well, I'm gonna beep that out. T minus.
Well, gosh darn it, I know games.
Gosh, he's gonna put something in there. Sorry. Oh my gosh. that'll be but I assume that this is something that he enjoyed, was part of his vernacular, is part of his, like, it's part of his soul, and he poured all that anger, all that hurt, all that frustration in that to warn other parents to not go through or try to prevent what that's going through. And then throughout the years, that the thing just exploded, right? So you said that you mentioned that there's this annual game contest that he does every year. That's so freaking awesome. You know, for like
Yeah.
whatever issues people are going through, whatever it is, to know that, oh man, okay, I'm getting ready, because if you've taken part of like competitions and things like that, and it's coming up, you start training 6 months, 3 months before the event, so they're already kind of like, okay, I hate my boss so much, whatever it is, right? So I'm gonna make a game, about this cat or whatever that really hates his owner, but the owner feeds the cat. He doesn't know, but he's domesticated, so he doesn't know how to get his own food anymore. So your goal in the game is to undomesticate this cat, so he can, or whatever.
That already sounds like an awesome game.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I want to play that.
So yeah, Jack, I mean, so you said it so well. I just wanted to add to that. It's such a beautiful article and an example of like what gaming can do, right? And it's something that we talk about a lot on the show, is that it's something that's already understood amongst everyone, gaming. And there's some negative connotations to it and some positive connotations to it, and I think it's beginning to shift more and more. But it's something that, in terms of playing a game, something you don't really have to explain to someone, right? Like, oh, we're gonna make a game, like, oh, okay, I know games about high school depression. Like, oh, okay, I understand the game part, but how do you make a game about high school depression, right? So yeah. Alika, what are your thoughts on this article?
I thought this is awesome. This is totally cool. This is pretty much what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very relatable. One of my favorite parts about this article. So I noticed you guys are doing quotes, so I'm gonna fall in line here and
absolutely
grab my own little quotes.
Please.
The theme of culture was picked for this year because Crescente knows that many young people turn to their culture to understand sensitive issues that they might not feel comfortable speaking to their parents or teachers about. And Crescente says, I love the idea of using a video game to explore the impact of culture. Adding that when he was a child, conversations about consent or unhealthy relationships certainly weren't household topics. So that part right there, that really stuck out to me about the culture. What is your culture at home? What is your culture? And that's why he's met with so much surprise and skepticism when he says, I'm making games to prevent violence. Everybody's like, what? No way. Like, how? Mm-hmm. Because our culture, or because American culture, is so enamored with violence. And so he's making games, he's only different because of that. But that's a beautiful thing, because he's also putting a spotlight on what is the culture of this country, what is the culture of your home. If you can't talk about this with your parents, how well do you know everybody that you spend most of your time with? How well do you know the people you live with? What were you raised to believe? So I really wanted, I like that he brought that up. That's a big portion of what makes these games effective. It paves that culture, I guess, in a way, or it changes it a little bit. Like the kids that we made the depressing game with, they started telling us, like, I look forward to this class because I'd rather be here than go home. And we're creating a culture there, and hopefully they take the roots of that culture and go somewhere else and spread that around. So yeah, I like this article. I like what this guy's doing. Good job, Crescente.
I can just add something to that like sparked in my brain is, what's an American hero? An American hero is someone who kills or beats up bad guys.
America, people,
or
game now.
or he's a champion of some kind of sport. He is somehow
Well,
dominant.
yeah.
Any dominant figure that follows the social norms is a hero in this culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That is Video Games Against Violence, How One Nonprofit is Creating Change. F yeah, HollywoodReporter.com. F yeah wasn't in the article. That was a post note. All right. Next article. This is one that Jack picked. This is his number 4. And this is from the dailyemerald.com. I believe that's a Green Lantern website, Jack. Green Lantern Corps.
Wow.
And it is Gamers Rise Up Against Climate Change. I remember this one very well as well, Jack. What is this article about, Jack, and why did you pick this one?
I'm going for a score over the article, of course, and the article itself is basically talking about the University's Oregon and
Where?
Of Oregon.
Holla!
Yes.
U of O.
But what place?
The quote unquote holy line that ever has been quoted several times over this podcast. But in particular, I wanted to focus on what we probably was one of our first articles that we gotten from Oregon, which was this. And this was talking about the global, basically what gamers are trying to do and game developers are trying to do in understanding and identifying climate change. And it was a game night, basically, and it was open to the public. And it was both a mixture, and quoting from the article, it's kind of a mix of fun and education, similar to how the Assassin's Creed article pile. But in particular, it was more engaging. Though I'm not saying Assassin's Creed cannot be engaging. I'm not. What I'm saying is
that's
that,
what I'm saying.
but what I am saying is that there is several other articles on our list that is going to showcase a new way of gaming that we have identified over this pandemic and a new methods of understanding each other through board gaming in particular, and how it's such a powerful tool that can be used for such good things. And climate change, whether or not you believe or not, is going to happen, no matter what. Like hurricanes, like tsunamis, like rain, like snow. It's a part of our everyday life, and we, by doing these open house events, really allows everyone to understand that and in a safe environment while having fun at the exact same time. And a couple of the games that was on here was where was my notes? Wildfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically that one was to make climate science more accessible and interesting, and so on and so forth. But my main reason for to put this on here was that this, like the Assassin's Creed article before and many of the articles that I had put on as my top 5, really spark that whole, okay, I'm gonna look more for this now more than ever, and I'm gonna try and really understand where each where Oregon in particular is coming from, and why Mr. B keeps on saying it's the holy land. This article was probably the start of me trying to understand that, and still trying to understand that. And it's not me. I hope I'm not saying making it out like I don't understand.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I'm still
land.
trying to get it because I don't get it.
So what? It's more of understanding of the different community paths that they have over there, the different ideals that and options they have over there, and just the vast scale of it. That's whole idea of the game nights um for climate change. It When I first saw this article was enough of like what the fuck moment that
Oh,
I was
that's
What
two.
the
randomly
what
watching.
the F?
That's two. we
That's
need to be-
two. You gotta do the toasty. That's how you gotta do it. That's
But
the new edit tone right there.
We got a soundbite now. That's good. I like that. With
Yeah.
just do it whenever we say the word America, we'd be like, "Tutti."
Yeah.
We start beeping out
Exactly.
like other stuff. All right. Yeah, it's interesting that you put this article in here because today me and Deb we went and ate. So today is essentially kind of our Saturday. So Saturday is like I mentioned earlier, it's like our pig out day. We just go off our diets and just grind whatever. Like we give ourselves one day a week, to do that. And Oregon came up, and we were talking about like why and not just Oregon but mainly Portland area, and why like why is this so special to me, and I always there's this analogy that I tell everyone to kind of put it in context. So like my dad and my sister went there for the first time. Well, this is not the analogy. This is a little tangent. My dad and my sister went there for the first time, and I wasn't with them when they went into the city, and they were like, I don't understand, like you're everywhere here. It's like just like every single person I meet. It's like it's so weird. Like, why are you not here? But it's kind of like imagine if you lived in, let's say, okay, we already picked on Montana. Let's say Idaho. Okay, let's say you lived in Idaho, you're born in Idaho, that's your whole world, okay? And everybody around you listens to, I don't know, whoever the new pop country person is. Grogu listens to Grogu.
Yeah.
I was pretty good. I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm kind of proud of myself.
That was good.
But anyway, so let's say everyone listens to whatever the new country artist is there, right? But you listen to Hawaiian music. You love it. You love the lyrics. You're like, man, play lunch, coconut trees and beaches. You're like, yeah, And then one day you go on a vacation to Hawaii, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be here. Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure. And you get in the rental car, and you turn on the radio station, and Hawaiian music's on. You're like, holy crap! They play Hawaiian music here. That's pretty. Wait, that's kind of cool. And then you go out to a restaurant and you eat, and like on the radio, you're like, oh my god, they play Hawaiian music here. And then you drive onto the freeway and you see this big banner of this big Hawaiian music thing coming up. You're like, oh my god, people are listening to Hawaiian music. I have to live here. That is kind of like me going there, just like it was so ironic, like the mannerisms, the interests, like I would hear like cars pass by listening to obscure stuff that I listen to. I would go into like a shop to eat, and they're like, I would like grab my wife by the shoulder. I'd be like literally tears in my eyes, because my 40 years of existence, I've never been to a store that plays obscure music that I listen to. And I go to a bookstore, and normally whenever I go to a bookstore here, I'm like, I'm not gonna find anything I like. All the books there, I'm like, oh my god, there's this obscure book on mushroom, cultivation. Like, I can't believe this. There's this biography of like, I don't, it's yeah. So that I just wanted to put in context why, before talking about this, why Oregon, because we never really talked about
that
it,
was
right?
the
Like,
preamble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because time
Just to let you know. Yeah.
No, because time and time again we talk about Oregon, and I get this glint in my eye, though, right, Jack? We never really explain, I think, to our listeners, like, why I like Oregon so much. So yeah, this article's pretty good.
It's all right. It's all right.
No,
That's
no,
the
no.
preamble to be like, so yeah, that's why I think it's pretty good. Anyway, moving on to the next one.
All right. So what I loved about this article, first of all, I mean, they have a picture of like Carcassonne.
Mhm.
Excuse me, Carcassonne, Settlers of Catan, sure, but they have like real board games there, right? So it's like this university level kind of thing, and they're like talking about like CO2, like these are like some like actual board games that, like, you know, if you're like a board game
It's
player,
not
you would play
Monopoly with
board game.
stickers on it.
Yeah, it's not, or even, I mean, so interesting enough, I got into this is one more little aside, but this is the beauty of uh, uh, podcast. I got into a conversation. I'm not going to name who they are because I know they were definitely going to listen to this article, but got into a conversation, and they were talking about the new wave of Monopoly-esque games, and I it was weird because I was put in a position to where, like, so the new wave of Monopoly S games are target games. Target games now are kind of like the, you know, they're, I mean, it's just this, like, hipster-esque mentality, right? It's like, Jesus, it's you know, it's the whole Animal
I got a
Farm,
Target.
you know. No, but I mean, I get it, like I get what they're saying. No, I know, Jack, I know, I okay, right. I mean, so it's like Dungeons and Dragons is at Target, you know, like, oh no, we only play role-playing games that are written on the bark of trees that you know,
Like the
so
good old days back in the
paper is so
800 BCs.
1800s. We we use trigonometry to attack, you know, and cosinus to determine, you know, yeah, it's just, but anyway, so he's going to be listening to this, and you know, I was making fun of him then as well, but he was like, the
Oh no.
target games are the new, you know, popular, you know, socially accepted, like, I was like, no, dude, like, stop.
Maybe for the people you know, sir.
No, but so I mean, so then I asked him, I was like, when was the last time you played a target game? And no, I said,
Right.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I need you to be honest with me, all right? Even if it makes you uncomfortable. It was like, okay. It's like, really gonna be honest. He's like, okay. And then I asked him, do you own any Target games that you purchase from Target specific, not games that you bought at
Right.
like our local LGS, but happens to be a Target? He was like, yeah, and you could kind of tell like where I was leading with this. And then the next question was, when was the last time you played one of those? And it was that it was, so we were talking like the day after Christmas, and he played it the night before because he's playing with his
Uh,
parents and stuff, right? So I'm like, ah, so you decided to bring that game. He's like, yeah, but you know. But anyway, like, come on, you know,
Whatever.
like I get the Monopoly thing, you know, that, I mean, that's just me, you know, but if, you know, somebody loves Monopoly, high five, whatever, great, you know. But the Target thing, that's a stretch, man. That is like, come on, you know. Yeah, you're just being told, I mean, that's just total classist, you know, hipster, you know. It's like, oh, it just sounds exhausting to me to think like that all the time. Right? It's like, Jesus.
It
Anyway,
does. But is it from
um,
Target though? I only get games from Target. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Uh, Jack, please go right ahead.
not to say, but like I could see it if it's like a LGS, because LGS is half community based, and if you don't take the community there, then okay, maybe you don't want to go to that LGS, and maybe you want to go try a different one. But like I, you cannot make that same argument with Target, because Target is really like, yeah.
Well, what this boils
That's the Empire.
so what this boils down to is and we're still on topic. This is great. We're still recording. This is all going to go up. What this, and hopefully he understands this, because I didn't say this then as well. And listeners, you should understand this as well. Is you're not better than somebody else because you own a game that you play that's not from a store that, you know, that you think is lesser or whatever, because that's what it is, right? Like, oh, you know, you know, you're trying to present yourself in this way that makes you better than, a non-gamer. Um, but the scene dies without players, right? That's a beautiful thing with board games. It's usually not a solo experience. There is games that you can definitely play one player, but the beauty of board games is that you have to play with other people. And you want new players to experience this wonderful craft of board gaming as well. So I mean, it's just such bull beep. It's just you're just trying to make yourself sound smarter or more knowledgeable,
Yeah.
because you know what I mean. Because about this whatever game, it's just Again, it just sounds so exhausting to me. I think everyone knows something that another person doesn't know, right? Like that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
right? Like everyone. So anyway, okay.
That's how conversations are so beneficial.
Absolutely. But yeah, so Jack, so anyway, I was petting this dog, and guys, you would have imagine just go a little bit. But no, this is very, very cool. I'm not surprised, where this took place in, but it's awesome. They have I know there is quite a lot of not underground indie cardboard board game design stuff that happens there as well. So it's a very large scene in Oregon that kind of supports this kind of stuff. But yeah, super awesome article, Jack. Again, it's all about having a shared passion or ideal, and then having a place to project that in a positive way. And that's, I think, what this article is about. Lika.
Well, because also concerning your what you're saying about like the separation between the different types of gamers, I kind of think on the flip side, flip side of that, I feel like stratification is an indication of strength in a culture, because if you can actually start to differentiate yourself from the stock version of your culture or the mainstream, then that means you have a mainstream. That means your culture is strong, and it's probably not going to go anywhere. Like that game culture, that the fact that they're not just clawing at whatever comes their way, like, oh yeah, let's try this one, let's try this one. There's actually now a break off, or well, we don't play those games, we play these games. Like the fact that there's a difference, that's kind of a cool indication that the culture is flourishing, and there's a group of people that wants to differentiate themselves.
I think that's always
but
the case,
like yeah, but don't be a douche. Don't be a douche, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's really
just
the key.
like what you like. Yeah.
I think that's really the key.
Yeah, so sorry, there's like a little bit of delay. I just thought the educational aspect was kind of heavy-handed, where they're making games that are obviously about a certain issue. I don't know. I kind of like being sneaky when we design educational games. I like being real sneaky about it. Put the medicine all the way into the hot pocket. You can't tell. So, but other than that, I think it's pretty awesome that they're using resources and time and actually investing in the power of gaming for education.
All right. Jack, any closing thoughts?
And back to you guys.
Like I said before, though, the gaming, the whole University of Oregon, and all of that, my main reason was always to understand where all of these understandings are coming from, especially from the game choices they pick, because a lot of them were, like how Alika was saying, they've been heavy-handed on the messages, but maybe that's how you get your message across. Unlike how we do it, where our target audience will be more receptive to the ideal data, or see it as traditional, because all traditions are a little bit, the meaning is not as obvious, but maybe it's better for those who don't have that traditions, that the gaming, those
To have
games
it
are
spelled out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
that's one thing that I got off of the article. The second thing is that it's gonna happen either way. These festivals are going to continue, and we saw that constantly with the articles
Yeah.
that we've been
Yeah.
showcasing in, especially right now with the regular weekly things. We saw a lot more wide brought with the conventions. It's not no longer just climate change in Oregon. We saw it in New York where it talked about the police, France with
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
Like, these like big conventions on gaming change.
Yeah.
Though the topic is a mainstream topic that is being identified, it's going to be more precise with the games they chose. So like several of the other games that's on here wasn't heavy-handed. Like some of the games that were talking about climate change. For example,
Mm.
Catan. You don't think that's a climate change game? In my opinion, I don't see that as a game that's talking about climate change. I see it
Well,
more as like a
stapling your
tycoon game.
balls to your leg. No, I'm sorry. Speaking of, classist. Speaking of someone that's a classist. Sorry, Jack. Sorry, please. That was a quote by my friend Jason Lee. He's the one that said that one night at Armchair. I never forget this. This poor kid, he had his Settlers of Catan game. Anybody want to play Settlers of Catan? He's walking around, and my friend Jason was like, and he works at Pearl Harbor now too, but he was like, yeah, it's like steak back to your leg. I was like, dude, the cat was like,
Oh.
I know.
Moving on.
All right.
Oh.
Gamers rise up against climate change. Yes, Jack. I was thinking that as well. This is the target audience, right? Like they are looking for this specific type of game. Like they're looking for like the Chicago game where there's like a cop on the cover, where it's to teach kids in the community how to interact with police officers. They made a game about that, right?
Trust the police.
Mhm.
No. How to like not not get shot as a kid.
Yeah. Okay, that's what we did for our presentation. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Daily Emerald, gamers rise up against climate change. All right. So that was Jack's. So my third article is oh wait, are we on 2 or no? We're on. Where are we? We're going to
4.
Yeah, we're starting with me. All right. So I'm just going to move this to the big monitor here. Poland is the first government worldwide to add video game to official school reading list as an educational resource by European Gaming.eu. Jack, I'm just going to skip you. I'm sure you have nothing to say about this article.
I do. I really do.
Do you remember? Do you remember this article at all, Jack? Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember. So basically, guys,
Are you sharing
Yeah. I'll be right back. I'll listen. I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm listening.
All right.
okay. So
Alright.
first off, Polish song. Second thing, we're going. My love of Poland is not something that is counter patriotism or like I want to be in a country that's Polishified, or I want to be a Pole or anything like that. It's out of sheer respect to what they did. And say what you will about CD Projekt Red's recent project, Cyberpunk, but the fact that their gaming industry, the entire industry, is united in this whole ideal of just making games to represent their country and making games to showcase their whole history, the good and the bad, is something that I really admire from Poland. And the fact that they're leading the charge on gaming. We never saw this charge beforehand to this extent. And it was really something that I was very much awestruck when I first realized this about Poland and how much it really cares about not just gaming culture, but how it could be also not just used to amplify their own culture, but taking care of it to this newer age. And this whole ideal of different games, and though some may not work and some may be flops, it's still going to be case studies where the students can learn from and could use and their understanding of. And just the whole, like how we mentioned, anybody can be a game developer, right? Them using it as like a cultural, as like a school educational program, they can really
Brought out another.
because we could showcase they could showcase a whole wide of variant of things, because now that allows people, young kids, to understand, oh, we don't have to just go into one direction, or into
We
music, or into construction, or into whatever you want to say, or into
we could
plumbing.
walk away. We could walk away, have another conversation, Alika,
And
for like 35 minutes, and then come back and just be like, and then F F. My 37th point about this is, sorry, Jack.
so, and it
You're doing
also
very well, though. Doing very well.
and with also the whole ideas of it becoming a educational piece, especially for the younger stuff, can really showcase newer aspects of the arts in general. Because we saw that video games, especially, use a combination of factors from music to animations to film directory to directing itself, and these skills can be applied to vast majority of any industry. From teamwork, you could apply it to any place you want to go.
Yep.
And another thing that Korean has to offer that it really is just a marvel at is that they also support this to the upper levels by offering scholarships in particular for game design and for visas for upcoming game developers to go there and to really use their colleges to understand not just their culture and how gaming works over there, but the wider industry. And though, like I said, there's gonna be major flops and major case studies. We are seeing the works of one right now. And but to that, it's only going to make the industry stronger. We don't see this whole country focusing on game development as much as they did, and we're seeing it now being possible in other countries. We saw it articles about it in Israel and in Singapore and in Ireland. All of these other pieces are saying we're following the Polish example. We're following what they started.
And everyone's only mad because they didn't get to. It's not because Cyberpunk is a crappy game. It's because they can't play it. That's why they're mad. It's so good that they're pissed that they can't play it.
But so, and with that being said, Cyberpunk can also be used as what happens when you mismanage. What happens
Yeah.
when you don't work together as a team. And it can really be used as, okay, guys, we're doing play Cyberpunk for a week and tell me what you could do better. And
Mm.
the fact that they're making video game as a mandatory requirement reading really can demonstrate all of the creative learning aspects that they have. We saw it in the prior articles how gaming can be used for educational purposes and that it can really straighten the educational system, especially if with no budget required. Because these game developers are giving education, but not purposely, like how we some of the games we saw in the prior in this episode. And pulling strong, pulling strong, pulling strong, pulling strong, and then so yeah, the
I can't even
main
talk.
aspect of
So much Poland good. I can't even think.
Thank you, Jack. That was an amazing tour of Poland. Thank you for being a part of our virtual around the audio tour.
All right, can you stop?
I like how it's
sharing
built
screen,
into the
Jack?
culture.
There
Yeah,
we go.
yeah.
Okay.
That Pokeball is crazy.
Yeah. So, what else can I say? I guess I could talk about how much I don't like Cyberpunk. I'm kidding. I freaking love that game. Yeah, I'm one of the few. I do have my frustrations in the game, of course, but it's so good. Even today, like I snuck in like I think 35 minutes of playing because I needed to go eat donuts, so I had to like cut my time to go to 7-Eleven to go buy donuts. But anyway, that's another story. Uh, but in that 35 minutes that I played, what's the Japanese Takeshi? No, that sounds so racist. I'm sorry.
Kakashi. Yeah,
Oh,
no.
that is his name.
That is.
Okay,
He's like the last.
Apparently, it is
Yeah.
racist.
No, I
It's the
don't
most
know.
recognizable Japanese name.
So what was so cool was like how we're planning. So I'm about to do that big heist thing, which we're not going to talk
Oils.
about. But the whole point of it though, like so, like I tested like my hacking and whatnot. We had this conversation. Is Alika, we're sitting down at like this stall on like the third floor of like this food court thing, and we're just sitting down eating and having a conversation. That was like the whole like 20 minutes of me playing. Was just like sitting down. He's like, come sit down. I haven't eaten all day. Let's just talk about this some more. Just sitting down. No, it's so cool though, because like
that's moves, so cool.
Moves like that, like it takes like you need to have like cojones, man, to like do like what we're gonna have a 15. It's like a lot of like the bands that I love, they do like 5-minute intro, like just riffs for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, like to like map that out on a board, like, okay, so we're going to make a song. We need, like they just, this is what we feel like we should have in this song. So that's what we're going to have. So that's, that's what they did in this game. It's like, you're having food with this game.
They know you're going to listen.
Yeah, it's so cool. So you're like selecting options and whatnot. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Cyberpunk. It's kind of good. But yeah, Poland, man. So I would say that in terms of video game design, so definitely in Europe, it was Germany that kind of led the tabletop experience, like really kind of pushed innovation. And I would say that for video games, like America kind of had their hand in it, but it was really Japan, right? So Japan really pushed it, but it was kind of and there was like working designs. There was like these other like sort of small indie company, not indie where like we have indies today. These indie games were like $2 million or whatever, right? But those are like considered indies back then. But there was
like Abe's Odyssey.
But there's this interesting thing that happened right about when this War of Mine came on, where like Poland, and of course Witcher, everyone kind of looked at it, was like, yeah, Witcher's cool. This little company made this amazing game, but it was really when this War of Mine was made that people started really looking at Poland, because what this War of Mine did was they looked at their experience of what it was like to be occupied and translate that into this harsh, gruesome game. So players and the industry started to kind of look at Poland, and then Poland they just embraced this game design idea. And sure, I'd like to say that it was like they planned it, but another way to think about it is like, I don't know if they really realized like they hedged their bets in one direction, and if a lot of other countries are looking. So like Jack said, there was this whole article about India and actually is Israel. So Israel, like there's a strong indie community that is like just blossoming now. They're making all these beautiful indie games, and they're using Poland as a template to like follow. Like this is what we have to do to make cool games. So that's why I put this in here. Was I just one, I think it's something that Jack's very passionate about. So it's kind of fun to listen to like Jack rant on about it. But it's amazing what this small country did. And the next article that I'm going to talk about is following suit of what Poland is doing as well. But I hope this is something that I my life work in Hawaii. This is something that I'm dedicating my life to doing here, and it's beginning to catch on more and more and more. Alika is working on this amazing video game now, where the only video games that were made in Hawaii I'm sure there's been some apps that I'm not aware of, but any video games that I were aware of were games that were made specifically to be published outside of Hawaii, right? They just had like a floor in downtown, Alaka, this floor that, like I did, where we just coded on stuff and then shipped it out, and had nothing really to do with Hawaii, so we're beginning to kind of see that momentum build. So we're at a very critical point where we just have to keep moving forward, right? This is the point where it's easy to just kind of give up, right? This is like through that what do they call it, the trough of despair, right? Like when you design, so you have a project, you go through kind of that intermediary part, but you don't notice that right around the corner is where everything happens. We just have to kind of push through that as a state. But yes, so that is why I put this article in here. Alika, what are your thoughts on this article?
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and I like that for as passionate as Jack is about Poland and all of that, I think that translates directly to here, to home, to Hawaii. Absolutely, because they have so many different experiences, and even in the culture itself, like I know at least for Hawaiian culture, experience was the test. Like there was no testing of knowledge. Like you just gotta go do it, and you gotta keep doing it until you're excellent. That's it. It's real simple. So with gaming, because gaming is tactile, because it is an experience-based media, then gaming is in the DNA of Hawaiians. So I think it could totally work for us in the same way that it works for Poland.
All right. Wow.
A bit more.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I'm gonna turn you
10 more minutes.
So okay.
Oh my gosh.
And
this is the third article. I just want you to know that, Jack. My third. We haven't get to your third yet. We did 2 articles yet, Jack.
No, we did.
Please. No.
Okay, 1 minute.
Going to your third.
Bang it out. Just go ahead.
This is my third article. Yep. Go right ahead. So tell us about this flag, Jack.
So, okay, no, what I was gonna make a.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I know. It's like I give a PowerPoint presentation. All right, so wine. You guys drink wine? No. Okay, I'm gonna do this really short. The differences between French and. All right, let's move on.
I mean,
okay. It's not champagne if it doesn't come from Champagne.
What were you gonna say in brief, Jack?
Well, basically the Polish strong.
Okay, great, fantastic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got it. You can tell us after the show.
I think you're basically telling us. I just want to say one more time, ribeyes are really delicious. Like
yeah.
Kind of got that.
When rain falls on you, you get wet. Just saying.
I'm just saying, when rain falls on you, you get wet. Okay, yeah, we don't need a.
I've got this 10-minute YouTube video about getting wet in the rain. If you guys would be interested, I just want to show you guys that.
I mean, like, we saw like the rise of like other cultures, like the rock and roll industry, and like
yes.
Okay, I need to stop and shut up for Poland.
Poland,
you're awesome.
The first government worldwide to add video game to official school reading list as an education
also Poland also got
gaming
is
using video games to update the military and
oh, now that sucks. Poland is rubbish.
Yeah. Now we're gonna stop talking about that.
All right,
we're done with Poland.
Jack's third article is Adelaide, am I saying that right? Adelaide women develop mobile gaming tackling domestic violence, teaching family and friends how they can help. By
Wow.
abcnet.au. I'd like to just point out something, Jack, before you give your thoughts on this. So something that I think we should mention, that I'm going to mention, is when we started doing this almost about a year now. I think we started in like February last year, when Jack came on board to this podcast. He started off with a lot of I don't want to say pro military, but a lot of military related things about like veterans, and that a lot of them were very very cool, like like veterans using games, and but a lot of it was like there's this military dude that made a game about combat and a card game. Like, okay, yeah, whatever, cool. But throughout the year, it shifted. Like, and like all of a sudden, Alika, like his articles blew my articles out of the water. Like I'd go through the week. Okay, I pick a couple, and then Jack would come with these articles that would just bring tears to my eyes. Like, when it would come to me, like Jack would you do a talk about it, and I would be like, it was a good article. Like I'd have like my mind would be like so blown away. So yeah, I just wanted to say like it was, and I'm not saying like the military articles didn't have that gravitas. Well, I guess they didn't, but they were, but these were like so full. You know what I mean? It was like so. I was always so close to home. Whatever these articles were, I was like, wow, like domestic violence and like that article where they made a board game to teach kids not to get shot when they approach a cop. Like Jack found that article. I was like, wow, like stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah. So it just so like this the podcast kind of like shifted like his radar of what to kind of talk about, like things that because I always said, Jack, just bring stuff that interests you, so that interest kind of shifted. So Jack. Yeah.
Quick callback. Before we get into this, that is kind of the effect of just being around quality in anything, right? So if you're around quality, you'll start to recognize what quality is. Because I remember when I first started working with you with gaming, and or no, before I was even working with you, I was working on Black Market Bonanza, and I remember working out in the back when I was living in Pro City, and I was texting you and Mike and Lima Talk, and I was like, guys, awesome idea, it's gold. What if we do a millennial Monopoly? And everybody, like, I'm over there like, this is gonna be the ticket to millions right here. We'll just have this. And then Jeff, like, so you immediately texted me. It texted me back, I really think we need to get you playing more games, buddy. And I was just like, what? Okay, cool. But what do you think about this idea? I mean, it's cool, right? And then you just like, hey, maybe we should just hang out and play some games, and you get a better idea of what some good games would be. Like, you're being real nice about it. It was such a crap idea. And I was only like, that was like, what, 3 years, 4 years?
More than that.
So yeah, just quick call back to that. Yeah. As Jack is gaining his taste as well. I can't drink any normal coffee anymore. Like, what? You want me to get
spoiler?
Me to drink instant coffee?
Spoiler.
Are you crazy? What?
Your Christmas present.
Just a spoiler.
Oh,
slight spoiler. You're about to get to the next echelon of like, yeah.
Oh,
You're
you're getting me a pour-over gooseneck.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say any of that stuff. Anyway, Jack, your thoughts on this article?
Napoleon Strong. Okay, anyways. Of Maui Napoleon Strong. But anyways, for real still. All my articles.
Jack. Don't make us not like Poland. We
yeah.
like Poland right now. We like Poland right now.
Dude, that's a very anxiety building comment right there. Like, hey Alika, don't make us not like art, all right? Okay, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about. I hope you like it. Okay, go
Okay,
ahead,
but for
Jack.
reals, all of my articles, if you haven't realized, it's basically talking about that whole shift. For the Assassin's Creed.
I don't know what was the thing
Yeah,
that we're gonna do?
the shift. Dusty. Yeah, talking
I
about
thought
that
that was,
whole shift.
I thought that wasn't a swear word.
You said
No, yeah, shift is not. He thought you said shift. Dusty. Okay.
And also how each of these oracles, some of them recently and some of them a far back, has affected me, honestly. And for this one in particular, I've really gotten two mindsets implanted into me at the exact same time. One is there's a whole number of different sections of the gaming industry, but all I have been experienced to was mostly AAA before this all. And I was thinking, well, what was this oracle and who spoiled? And it was actually you, Mr. V. And in particular, I was and how it's associated with me before. Like I was thinking before I read this, like before I saw this for the podcast, and then after that. And my whole take on it before it was, oh, okay, it's about gaming for change and about women's rights. Okay, shoots. But in actuality, that shift changed into no, it's actually about mental health and how female gamers and also gamers in general are addressing that situation using the variant of means and using new techniques. But just like reading this oracle, even for that split second, made me had that mind to where it was like, okay, you know what? I want to look more into this. I want to look more into what they're talking about, what they're explaining, both in mental health, both for women's stuff, and both for the different diversity class and in inquiries they are in the gaming industry because not all of us are indies. Some of us are going into AAA. Some of us is going into the second that category below AAA but above indie. And we're going to have different experiences depending on what regions are we from. And so this article really was for me that whole pivot in my mind. At the time, I remember funny, and I got like the articles we did. I was still thinking, you know, and still producing military stuff on around that same time. But after reading that article, I was like, okay, I need to stop on certain, not really stop on that, but like shift what I understand from my current perspective. And that it all came from this one article. And one quote in particular was this. Quoting from the article, I don't see a name, but okay. Uh, quote from the article. We've got one class at the moment of 24 students, she said. That's what we wanted for the first year, so we can really support them. One of our students, great thinking, that thinks there is a room for growth in the industry. I'm a huge fan of gaming in general, she said. Women are able to bring their own experience to the game, which is important for the young women that are playing. So like that whole paragraph, at the time when I first read it, I was like, okay, whatever. But right after that, I was really becoming more understanding of like that they'll see just go into okay, now we're talking about esports and how that's affecting mental health, how they're becoming more popular than football, and how they're also supporting women's rights, how several women are making more leeway, and how mental health is becoming more of a thing that game developers are trying, trying, try, 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 try.
We slow down. You just slow down and try it one more time.
Child. Focusing.
Challenging, channeling.
Channeling. Yeah, channeling.
Yeah, there you go. There we go. And that was charades. Okay, go ahead.
And yeah, but that's my main reason on picking this oracle. It seemed random, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, nah, not at all. That
Okay.
was not random at all. Totally tell.
So a thought came into my head. I was just reading this somewhere, and I'll send you the link, Jack, to put it in the show notes. But there was this article about, does a AAA developer, so not like the guys whose idea it is, but like, you know, when you like beat the Assassin's Creed or whatever, and you see like the credits like goes forever, like those people, do they make more money than an independent game designer who publishes their own game? The independent game designer makes far more than a AAA designer. So it's almost like working for Costco or having your own Costco. You know what I mean? So it was really was interesting, kind of like different kind of, but the perceived stress and threat, and because you know you're just working for you, right? Like that whole part of it, but the payoff is like exponentially larger as an indie designer than as a AAA. I mean, it's not your game either, but yeah. So I just that came into my mind. So Jack, this game here, hearing you talk about it, I remember. So this is the texting game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Friending is a new mobile game. Developer is Susanna Emery. The game works as a chatbot that sends messages from a fictional character named Hannah. By the way, the name Hannah was chosen from a Bisbee woman, Hannah Clark, and her 3 children were killed. This is like an actual person that passed away. Character named Hannah that mimics those of someone living with domestic violence. Like, holy crap! I don't know. I'm like, yeah. This is super awesome, though. I mean, not the domestic violence, but having a game that
not the domestic violence.
Right. The player then responds to the messages as the game coaches them through supportive and helpful responsive. So safe. It's not an actual person that you're talking to. It's this game, right? The game simulates common messages from domestic violence victims, like delayed response time, to educate players on what to expect in real-world situations. Wow. Wow.
Brilliant.
You know, it's like
brilliant.
Why isn't there like if you ever wanted to, like, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'll say it anyway. My torture, like, worse than like needles in my hand or like frogs. I'm afraid of frogs. Like frogs all over. Like my torture is you just sit me down on a chair, strap me down, and just play commercials. Like TV commercials. Like it's just freaking, because I see the formatting of so not all commercials, like when I used to watch Vice Channel a lot, like the Vice commercials, I'm like, super smart. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like certain channels, I'm like, I'm like, whoa, what is this about? Oh, and then, you know, it's like a really good joke. Like they lead you out one direction, like, oh my God, are they promoting domestic violence here? You know, you're like, and then they like spin it around, like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, okay, you know, it's not about domestic violence, but like these other like just
I'll get this detergent. Yeah,
but right? Yeah, it's like this is not domestic violence. I'll buy that toothpaste. Okay, no, but like these commercials, dude, like when even when I'm walking past my wife watching TV, because I can't watch TV, like just normal TV, because I just hate, like, commercials are just, it's like Monopoly times a million. I just watch it. I'm just like, you know, it's just like
they're not flying if you could see the strings, and you can see the strings in commercials.
It's just, but I mean, yeah. but but anyway, tangent. Why isn't there commercials about stuff like this? Why isn't there YouTube ads, right, of stuff like this? Like, this is like, everybody in the world needs to know that this game exists, you know, like everybody. This is so freaking awesome. All right, I'm done. Alika,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly, pretty much. Because I've been trying to think about ways to make psychology-based games. You know, like games that would help you navigate people's personalities and increase your emotional intelligence. Like, I think that would be an amazing game, just to make everybody less of an asshole. I think that would be so cool if you made
I love that.
1% of people less of an asshole. I think you've improved the entire world somehow. Like, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
So I would like to
Absolutely.
design a game like that. And this is falling in line with stuff like that, like just allowing you in conversation. The fact that it's a text-based game and it's in an app, it's really playing more so upon your ability to approach another mind, another situation. How do you interact within a completely different world on a human level? So like Assassin's Creed is how do I interact on a different world in a digital level where I'm an assassin in ancient Egypt. It's awesome. It's so cool. I'm gonna play it tonight. But in this game, you're interacting with somebody who is in pain, who is hurting. This is real life. You could really save a life with these skills. Like, I don't think I could really save a life with any skills I learned from Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Origins. But with the skills you learn in this game, yeah, you could help make the world so much better. So I love that, and I think that's where women designers come in. That's something that like just in talking in getting the female perspective from anything really, it's so interesting because it's the values and priorities are so different from most male perspectives or even the predominant perspective. You know, if you believe in the whole patriarchy idea, you know, even with that whole predominant perspective, it's just so different. And I think having a game be designed by such a different perspective as a female perspective on certain things, like who else would have valued being able to help your friend out of a domestic violence relationship? Like, who else would think about that? That's purely in that. And I think that's where women lead the charge in indie gaming, in games that change your heart.
Right.
And those are my thoughts. Go ahead, Jack.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
You got any more stuff, Jack? Oh, okay.
No. I was like, oh man, no, because it was one of Adika's comments. I'm trying to think of it. Okay, never mind.
Cool. All right. Moving on. We've got
All right.
we've got articles, so yeah, we can add to that. So
Yeah.
Adelaide women develop mobile gaming, tackling domestic violence, teaching family and friends how they can help. Super awesome. abc.net.au. All right, guys, you ready? So technically, this article should be number one for me, but by number two and number one, they're just like, to me, those two articles were just like so influential for me. But really, it should be this article, and it is The Growing Potential of New Zealand's Gaming Industry, by theislandnow.com. Holy crap, Jack! Remember this article? Like this when we were talking about this article, it took up most of our 30-minute podcast. Like, we just couldn't stop talking about it. Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
First off, if you haven't watched The Mandalorian season 2 episode, the last episode's ending, you should go watch that. You know, because they had a pretty significant person from New Zealand coming back to the fold. But
now it's too much. 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 Okay, good.
We need to take that sound bite, and when Jack starts going off on something, that's too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. We're like, too much across the street.
Gotta censor you with too much. Gotta put a too much. It's too much. Okay. Okay. Yes, New Zealand. Amazing.
But another thing is that it's a very this article brings to several things. The first thing is Polynesian pride. Like this is what we want to see for not just New Zealand, but like Hawaii, Fiji, all of all of the islanders that we like try to represent not just in our games, but like we have encounter throughout our lives and throughout our and throughout our my mind is fogging up. Okay.
Experiences.
Yeah, throughout our
Yeah.
experiences. The second thing is that the Mr. V may hate me for it, but Poyan Shong, and that
Mm.
all of these things are really going to be the new normal. And we saw that New Zealand had huge actors and huge famous stories coming from them and huge directors. Very recently, we saw that being applied to Star Wars. Reason why I mentioned that whole Star Wars thing earlier. And but just imagine that same passion and persistence now to the gaming industry and how that could affect not just triple A's but indie development, like how we saw for Poland. And this is only going to help us all in the long run. And of course, Polynesian pride and yeah. Okay, Paul, I tried.
Yeah.
Now
Take a breath. You're good.
this isn't the only New Zealand article that we have. It was quite a lot. So I put them all in like tabs, and then I deleted the ones, and I like the survivor through all those articles kind of lit and it was placed in. And again, this should technically be my number one. So what I love about this article versus the other New Zealand articles, there's like data in here. And I love data. I'm just kind of a data-driven kind of mindset. So they had a lot of numbers on this, like forecasts of like where, like what the industry is going to be worth for New Zealand. I think so with New Zealand. One thing that I've always loved about New Zealand, I've never gone there, but you know, I could definitely live there. It's such a magical and special place. There is this beautiful, almost like naivete that is part of New Zealand that makes it so wonderful and beautiful. And I remember I was watching this little documentary in New Zealand, and because I've always tried to like research and figure out, like, I mean, much like Portland as well, but like why what makes New Zealand so freaking special? There's something there, and you know, the Maori culture is of course there, and you know, but like there's just something about it that just makes it like whenever I meet somebody from there, there's just something about them that just makes them so magical. So I saw this little documentary. It's like a 6-minute documentary, and they were talking about the number of Maori words that they have for taking care of your neighbor. So there's like so almost kind of like how we have like Aloha, Mahalo, like all these kind of like, you know, like greeting kind of
Words
so
for
it's like,
rain. Yeah.
you know, right. So they have right. Thank you. But like they were talking, like the 6-minute documentary was about all the words they have for taking care of your next door neighbor. And they were just like, it were like little sound bites, like and they were just like, you know, these little kids are running and they were saying all these Maori words for taking care of your next door neighbor. Like it's just like they have all these like terms for it. And that's freaking beautiful. That is so awesome. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And you know, so I think, I mean, so it's like that, you know, so it's like that's rooted in this beautiful culture there. But also it's like what I mean, so like Taika's, you know, another one that's, you know, very, you know, kind of leading the charge of things like from Flight of the Conchords to, you know, his you know, Thor and all this other kind of stuff that he's been doing. But
Yeah.
I almost feel like and this is something that Australia also has, where they just kind of have this like who cares risk kind of, like, chance them, see what happens, where like a lot of
Yep.
us here, we kind of have this kind of fear base, we see these pop star icons, like, no, that's the only way I can get people to look at me, or be successful or whatever. We have like these crazy like ideals and models, that are just ridiculous. It's just like this,
Yep.
that's like created by these agencies, right? Like these
Yeah.
unrealistic things that these kids are striving for, that are just so ridiculous. So when I look at like what New Zealand is doing, and now with like gaming, so now they're looking at the gaming industry, and there's like, there's just article after article that we're talking about, like all of these super cool freaking games that are beginning to come out of New Zealand. It's just the beginning. Now that just all makes sense. So yeah, I put this in here. There's some really good figures in here about how an indigenous culture is embracing this innovative thing called game design.
Yeah.
All right, Alika, what do you think of this article,
Yeah.
man?
Oh, I think it's so awesome, and I think I wanted to kind of comment also on the culture of that place too, because I think that the reason why so many people in Western culture kind of stick to one route is because it seems like Western culture is based on proof and will it work, and I need to know it's going to work before I do it. Whereas with like New Zealand culture, Polynesian culture, I know definitely in Hawaiian culture, it's will it work? Let's find out. Let's go try it out. If it works, then it works, period. Like that's it. The data is my experience. And so I think that belief is shining through in that culture, and especially in the fact that they're taking on the game industry, and that's what games are. It's just experiences. You get to have an experience designed by someone to help you, what, for whatever reason, maybe learn something, and maybe grow yourself as a person, whatever. If it's a AAA company, probably how can I get money out of you? There's all these different reasons to play games and why games are designed. But I like that huge aspect of Hawaiian culture, Polynesian culture, and definitely Maori culture is being put into this burgeoning industry. So wonderful. Good news. It's a good news article.
Yeah. Yes. All right. The growing. Oh, Jack. Yes.
And this is only just the future. Like, well, who knows? Like, maybe Native Americans could even use, because we didn't. That's the one thing that we didn't see a lot of, is the Native American aspect of game development.
Yeah.
I belong to a Facebook group that has majority of Native American designers, but there's just not articles written about them, but they are cranking out stuff, and they are cranking out a lot of games.
So, but basically is that though we may be touching on Poland or New Zealand, we highly encourage you, if you're looking for like a particular set of group, there is a group out there. You just need to find it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just pick games.
Or make it. Or make it.
Try it out.
Or
make the game. Yeah.
But
okay. The growing potential of New Zealand's gaming industry by the island now. Okay. Now we're going to our fourth article. So this one, Jack, I had to make this number 2, man. I had to make this number 2. Like this article, like when I found out about Shirley Curry, like my whole week I was telling everybody, like I'll be like setting up this database at Toshiba for this customer. I'd be like, how was your week? Small talk, and be like, have you ever heard of Shirley Curry? like who's that? Like, yeah. can you get on YouTube right now? Yes, like this like accounting lady like watching this show, like, oh, that's really like it just like I had to tell like everybody about it, like everybody, like grocery shopping, paying for my things at Foodland, beep beep beep. I'm like, how's your day? Oh, my day's pretty good. Have you ever heard of Shirley Curry? Like it was just so freaking awesome. Jack,
An evangelist for Shirley Curry.
I mean, it just really touched my heart. Jack, what are your thoughts on this article?
So I wasn't a very much like how Mr. V was, where he became a Shirley Curry fan overnight and became a diehard advocate and willing to die for the Shirley Curry cult. Was in the camp of, wow, this is interesting, and this is what gaming is becoming. Well, everybody has a place to go now, and you could find like babies to have like their own little sect of gaming. Teenagers will have their own little sect. Monopoly is that sect of gaming for babies. Mr. I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to read his face.
Don't worry. Don't watch his face. Don't watch his face. It'll change. It'll change when you hit that point. Go.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Monopoly is a set of gaming for babies, is what he was saying, Jeff. That's what he was saying.
It's like my wife, like she's telling me stuff and she's like watching my face. She's like watching it. Oh, okay,
that's how we all.
Mind. We're not gonna go eat over there. I'm like, what? That's fine. No. It's all good.
Jeff, your face, your whole face. I know they say the eyes, but your whole face is the window to your soul.
Yes,
your whole face.
Absolutely.
No, I'm going to address my what I was going to say, and I really respect Shirley Curry.
Yeah, say it again.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Okay, that's fair. Okay, and so Shirley Curry, like initially, I was very much like, this is an article that really showcases gaming for all of its benefits, and because it's not just that she found something that she loves to do, but also how she interact with her community, and her community is very much more of like a tight-knit group. And that's the sort of things that I sort of watch for, is that I don't like to watch individuals or like maybe 4 people stream, like, or it's a small group. I rather watch the streamer or YouTuber for the community, and if that streamer is actually responsive to that community, or if that community is open or very much has the same interest that I have. And so when that's probably the main thing that I want this to point this article out, is that communities like this is not like a real occurrence. It's going to happen more and more as the years continue on. And we're going to see more different groups, different ages, and different ideas being more brought up. Heck, I saw the other day that there was a comparative Vierra Tetris group that is still trying to get world records for the original Tetris. And so it's just the evolution of gaming will continue on until either this rock doesn't exist anymore, or gaming becomes a new AI. But yeah.
It'll never go away as long as humans exist. No.
All right.
Yeah.
Why did I put the gaming grandma in here? So this, why this impacted me so much? So first of all, Bethesda made an NPC character out of her. That's super amazing. So she had to make, she had to make. So she is, I think, at the time of this article came out, I don't know, April, maybe April. She was like the 6th largest streamer out of all of, Pew Pew, whatever his name, PewDiePie, whatever, like Crip area.
PewDiePie, yeah.
She was the 6th And why? When you watch the documentary, these guys, so these kids, they would come home from school, whatever, wherever they are, whatever part of the world, log in and be like, "Hi, grandma. Today, this is what I did at school today." She'd be like playing Skyrim. "Oh, that's good. So did you hook up with that girl? You know, like just like it's their gaming grandma.
That's so cool.
It's like, right? Like
Wow.
just and she's just playing Skyrim. She's just totally like pang, you know, just like killing it in Skyrim. Just like this old like 70, 80-year-old lady. And then other girl would be like, "Oh, I broke up with my boyfriend today, grandma." Like, "Oh, really?" And you're like giving like grandma advice, like, you know, like, "Oh, you know, well, why did you break up with him? You know, oh, he said this and this and this. We all say stupid stuff now and then, or you know, whatever." And she's like, "Oh, okay, grandma, I'll go," and you know. So it's like this, almost like this grandma shrink.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. So they made this documentary about this lady, and yeah, so it's she from, you know, from April she does this full time now, and it's just Skyrim. So she doesn't stream any other game. She just plays
Wow.
Skyrim. Yeah,
Just one.
yeah.
That's
So anyway,
so awesome.
you know, so like for me, like when I saw this, like I just thought about the potential for other people out there, like a car mechanic, like whatever, right? Like they just get out every so often and play, you know, GTA. This is so BS. Let me tell you why. Shock absorbers, you know, like all these car nuts like jump on, you know, and you know, so it's like it's so meta, right? It goes beyond, like, it's, you know, Skyrim fans are jumping in, but also non-Skyrim fans are jumping in and talking to the gaming grandma.
Yeah. Wow.
So what are your thoughts on this,
Dude.
Alika?
I feel like, you know, like how this current age and maybe from like 1994 and on was the information age.
Yep.
So I think the new age coming is the experience age. It's the ownership of experience. Because we have more information than we could possibly ever need at this point. But it's not making the world any better. It's not. We all thought back in those days, like the miracle of the internet, we could share all this information, and then we get cat videos and information. And all that information really doesn't mean anything if you're not interested in the experience that that information provides. So gaming is the vehicle for ownership of experience. Like that's why this is like just watching grandma play this game and interact with all of these people, or just listening to, because I've watched this grandma before. I've seen her before, which means she's super popular, because I don't usually like I don't peruse any of this stuff. And I've seen her random videos before. She's super cool. But the experience of having a grandma do it, like it's just a different perspective. Just like how I was talking about women game designers, it's just a different perspective.
Yep.
And I think you're never going to get the full meal of being able to consume someone else's perspective than if you watch them play a game, or if you play a game designed by them. Like that's just, there's no other way to do it to get that full experience. So this is just the fact that she exists is telling me that this coming time this is the time for games. We've reached a level of intelligence and evolving to the point where now we can make anything a game. That's how advanced human beings are. If you can make games, I'm biased, obviously, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
Kevin Kelly, I think in the Inevitable, a year or two ago, or maybe 3 years ago, this is fantastic book. Kevin Kelly is like this virtual mentor for me. I follow a lot of what he says, but he said that his whole thing was experience. He said like the biggest next investment, you know, oil, the next oil is experience. He's like, because people will always pay a premium for experience. Like it'll like
Yup.
the price, like if AI comes online, takes over, whatever, it will never replace experience. Never. People will always pay for experience.
Yeah, I don't think
okay?
AI is going to take
Jack's
over
face.
humankind at all. Like,
Look at Jack's face, though.
I know, with the two
Wait,
dark
what?
circles over there.
Yeah.
And it's all fuzzy.
Sorry,
Yeah.
like for the past 24 hours non-stop. So yeah.
Oh,
What
damn.
happened?
You
What happened?
needed to get some rest for this podcast.
Yeah.
He's been up for 24 hours.
Oh, that's not a good idea. All right. So
Yeah.
this,
I'm okay.
any closing thoughts on this article, Jack?
Worship the grammar code, or else the grammar inquisition comes to you.
Okay. I
Okay.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you,
Yeah.
Jack.
Discover the story of Skyrim grandma and new documentary. Okay, so now we're down to our best articles of the whole year. We're gonna start with mine, then we're gonna go to Jack's. Jack, this is one that you found,
Okay.
and this article effing blew me away, Jack. And I remember when we covered this on the show, like we just couldn't stop talking about it. Like, it was just so freaking out there. It was such a Mr. V article. It's just like, wow, like just cars are driving upside down and people walk with their ears. It was just like, what? And this is one that you found, Jack. You found this article. And it is, forget the moral panic. Christians today are finding the spiritual side of board games and video games. What? Like, what?
Yeah.
Jack, what the hell is this article about? And how did you find this?
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you how I found it. And
Yeah.
the first things, usually I type in random words or random phrases that I've been nagging in my brain. But for some odd reason,
French
this
toast
that
D20.
week,
Oh.
no, that week it was gaming news, and that's usually what I try to force it as a general search. Gaming news, okay, and then I put up whatever phrase or stuff or word that I thought of. The phrase that I thought of for this article was "Do God exist?" And then it brought me to this article, and I was like, "What the heck?" And it really was just the new way of gaming, and how we mentioned how the cultures are shifting, and how gaming is now being this new fat barrel to, well, everyone is hosting it up to use for whatever reasons they want to do. And though you may not be religious, one of the key things that I wanted to showcase from this article, and I'm sure Mr. V is going to expand on. Well, what the hell is it? Okay, gaming as a religious. Yeah, gaming as a religious experience.
Yeah.
In that subsection, there's a particular quote. Quote from the article: "There is not much difference between a monk who is this mindful state, saying they're reflecting on the magnitude of the world, and someone who is playing a puzzle game for 11 hours."
I'm done.
And coming from a Roman Catholic, I'm not heavy religious.
Oh, what? Roman.
Catholic.
Oh, Roman. Okay. Sorry. I thought you said Mormon Catholic. I was like, that's not real. Go ahead.
Norman Catholic.
I know I'm tired, but it doesn't help that you guys are like, oh, what? I'm like, stupid.
Yeah. We just like messing with you, Jack. Okay, go for it.
But just coming from that perspective, though I'm not heavy religious into my faith, I could really understand where all of these guys are coming from, and where gaming can become this whole spiritual aspect for not just them, but for a lot of us. And you don't have to be spiritually related, like how that quote said, in order to get that spiritual meaning. One of the things that I recall when we was discussing was our experience the day before, well, we was just playing games to just get back into that mindset of playing ball games, me and Mr. V, and how that was just comforting us and very like welcoming. And it was for Mr. V, I'm sure he will have more bigger fancy words to say, but it was just this article is but yeah, and so it's really one of those articles, though it's maybe a long read for some, I really recommend to read and to continue reading because this is like everything else is just going to be a flag bearer for future articles to come. And now with this ABC publishing it, it really showcases like the new wave of gaming.
The mainstreamness of it.
Yeah.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. Are you done with your thoughts?
Poland strong.
Remember what I
Okay,
said?
now
Don't
he's
don't make
done.
us not like Poland. Like the eighth time we hear Poland strong, we're like, maybe Poland not so strong. You know, like we hear it a lot.
Yeah,
We hear
if
it
they
a
have to
lot.
keep
Like
saying it,
there's
I
a
think they're
Starbucks.
overcompensating.
If
Yeah.
there's a Starbucks on every corner, maybe Starbucks coffee not so good. Why is there? You know,
Maybe not.
yeah.
We gotta sell by volume, not by quality. You know what I mean?
Only one. You know. Okay. All right. Whew, okay, this article, man. This article. This is an article that I think about at minimum once a week. Like it just enters my brain again. And the reason is there's a lot of things to unpack out of this article. Number one is the view of how an outsider looking at Christianity, like as if how Christianity looked at gamers in the 70s and 80s, people that play D&D, you know, smoke pot and worship Satan, whatever. My view on Christianity, like the Bible belting Pentecostal burn in fire, is it really the way that Christianity is now? You know, and like reading this article and like doing some extra research after that, like, and I'm not just talking about those cool Hot Topic Hillsong guys that wear their tight jeans and you know
Pretty cool. They're pretty cool.
$80 gel, you know, like they all like this cool hip. Dude, like I'm 50, but I'm gonna dress like a 20-year-old. Hey, bro, Jesus is cool. Let me tell you why. I came over. You know, like, sure, man.
How does this crucifix look on my V-neck, man? How does it look against my V-neck?
I was going
Frames
on
it just right? It's all for Jesus.
I was going on a crusade, but you know, my I didn't feel valiant because you know it's not in my family. Oh man,
Leather jacket.
You like my studded bracers? I've got pieces of the crucifix in my bracers, man. It's $3,000.
Hey man, you want some of that holy juice? I got it right here.
I got it right here. I got your holy water bottles right here, bro. Yeah.
Perfecto. So I'm not talking about them. I'm just talking about just, you know, guys that go to church and play games. So it was just this really interesting shift where I had a stereotype, right, of like, oh, okay, Christianity, you know, like because because again, media, right? You just media constantly like portraying this image, and then it's like like gamers. This is what
constantly trying to divide us.
Violence. This is gamers. This is what gamers look like. Like no gamers. Like gamers. Big Bang Theory. Big Bang Theory. That's how all nerds look like. That's what they all look like. Everybody like. No, that's what Hollywood thinks they look like, right? So anyway, that's
or they want you to look like,
that's what at surface like that's what this article brought to me immediately, was kind of like this like bucket of cold water in my face. Like, no, this is how people worship God now. Like, oh wow, that is super cool, like amazing. Then digging into it, like they're talking about like Phil Walker Harding. So this is the guy that did, well, notably Sushi Go. Everybody knows Sushi Go. That's a Target game, by the way. See, I'm already doing it.
Now available at all your Target stores. Sushi Go.
Please. Yeah, but he does that archaeology, Dungeon Raiders, Baron Park, which is a very popular game as well. But he's a very, very good designer. He's like a pastor. Like what? like Phil Walker Harding is like this pillar in like board game design. Like, he made Imhotep. Like people like worship this guy. It's like and he's like a pastor. Like whoa, like where did this come from? So I'm gonna read off a couple of quotes. This is from him directly. And so the biblical idea of Sabbath is kind of like pressing pause on regular life to step outside the kind of regular cycles of production and work and all those things. It's coming together with people resting but not doing nothing, kind of actively resting, even playing. And here he sees a parallel with board games where you can press pause on the world outside and focus on play. You're not thinking about what we can gain from this experience. You're just playing, but you're doing it with quite a strong purpose. I love that. You're just playing, but you're doing it with a strong purpose, he says. Another parallel, Phil says,
AKA intention.
Another parallel, Phil says, is about how community can form around the game much as it can from a church. So it's just, and then it goes on. So they even talk about John Huizinga's like magic circle idea, like the imaginary circle that encircles gamers when they play a game, and the rules, the meta understandings that if you're sitting on this table, you're not going to eat, food or whatever that leaves traces on the game. There's like these common ideas, and that idea Carl Jung took to understand in society, if I go into a workplace or if I go to these are some things that I am agreeing to by going into these spaces. They're talking about that in this article. Like these church dudes are talking about these things. But yeah, and then of course, like Jack mentioned, gaming as a religious and spiritual experience. This is something that I experienced when I specifically board games. Video games, not so much. I play it it's cool, whatever. But when I play a board game, and when I'm like a real board game, not something that I just play for 5-10 minutes, or that's cool, whatever, but it's like a snack. But when I play a really good board game that for an hour at minimum to 2 hours, and I'm done, I feel like I've rebooted my brain, wow, just my brain, everything's in alignment, I can think clearer, it just feels different. Religious experience for me. So it cites other examples. I'm not going to go on and on about that at length, but Jack, personally, thank you for finding this article. This article exemplifies why we do our show. This is a fantastic example where we're taking something like Christianity that I looked at with this certain kind of lens. It's maybe they're the fish guys that wear $2,000 studded bracelets made of the crucifix or leather jackets, or they're super conservative, they worship guns and Jesus, that was just my brain, right? But I read this and it was just no, man, you can play games and like Christ too. You're oh wow, it's very, very cool.
Everybody bow your heads for the chanting of "Oh."
And you know what? So you know what? So actually, I just made the connection now. So I've been studying a lot, trading some sleep for this. I've been studying a lot about the Jesuit order, quite a lot, just reading books and books and books and books and books on it. And the modern Jesuits are not these D&D characters with long beards and they live in temples. They're just these cool dudes that do works for Christ. You know, they're part of the Society of Jesus. They're just like these, you know, very cool, humble. You know, again, it's like these paradigm shifts, right? Where at a certain point, it's always good to kind of see things with transparency. So thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
Alika, your thoughts on this article?
Okay, so I'll open it up with a quote that I liked. Dungeons and Dragons worship Dungeons and Dragons and worship both create senses of being. And that is at the core of it all. And I think that's so in driving home today from my cousin's house for our New Year's Day celebration. I was just thinking in my head, just randomly started thinking in my head that everything in life, everything in your experience, your conscious experience is a game, essentially. It's all a game. So religion is as much a game as a game is a game. And I remember saying this when we're designing Hobbes, you know, there's two types of people. There's people who want to know how to win, and there's people who want to know why are we playing the game. And I feel like just because it's a game doesn't mean that there's always a winner and a loser. Sometimes it's a game for everyone to overcome an obstacle. Sometimes it's a game for everyone to work together to achieve something. So with this, Dungeons and Dragons is as close to a religious experience as you can possibly get, because it's not a game about winning. It's a game about experience, belonging, and working together. Yeah.
Woo! Mic drop.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez. That was the Alika TED Talk. Dude, that was so freaking profound. Oh my God. Okay, I need to like cut that out. Like, put that, like, that is sometime play. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Because I grew up Roman Catholic, just like you, Jack. And yeah, it's all a game. Everything's a game. But sometimes you don't have to play to win. And I think that's when games go bad. I think that's when religions start to go bad, because they're playing to win. It's not about winning.
Whoa, that was like a Sieg Heil thing. Sorry. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa.
Captain Hitler. Yeah.
Wonder Woman without shields. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's such a horrible movie. Okay.
Am I high?
Are you, Jack? Is that how you're partaking? I mean, we've got our drinks.
No.
So, Kay, I know you listen to our show.
No,
Jack
he's not.
Does not.
No, he's not.
Honestly,
I'm not.
He does not.
I'm just tired, Miss K.
There you go. He's just very tired. Right, Jack?
Okay. So that was Forget the Moral Panic. Christians today are finding the spiritual side of board games and video games. Jack, you have some closing comments?
Yeah. Firstly, could you just imagine because of course we have the associations with the anime community, but could you just imagine they have Roman Catholic church in Japan is doing Sakaba Hira or something anime, and then transition over to Undertale or Halo theme.
That would be so cool. I would love to walk into a Roman Catholic church in Japan and hear an anime theme song coming out of it as a hymn.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so cool. That would be so epic. Okay.
The second thing is that the last two oracles was your second and then your fourth, right, Mr. Weir?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
that's correct.
I just wanted to make because
that is correct. Number 2, number 1, and now we're going to your number 1.
Wait, not my number 2.
Your number. You're number 2
You're
as
number-
well. Yes, Jack.
Wait.
We didn't go over
Did we-
Jack's number 2,
we
the
skipped your
Iran.
number 2.
That's why
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that our audience knows that. Well,
Yeah.
I'm who I was.
I want to make sure the audience knows that I was keeping track. Okay, Jack's number 2.
Totally skipped your number 2.
Yeah. Okay.
I like how you like led me on to that. Mr. V, how much is 5 minus 3?
He did it like a lawyer. He did it like a
Mr.
lawyer.
V, what do you know about Iran's limited tools for companies and the specter of war? I don't know, Jack.
What do you know about that?
Because that's our number 2 article. And yes,
Well, to be more accurate, that was my number 2 article that you did skip. We're not on number 1 yet. So
Wow.
let me get
All right,
into that right now.
I'll just say that's quite a lot. Like that should probably
Yeah, that's quite a
spoil
bit.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just saying. All right.
Just
So sorry. So to take a little moonwalk here. Whoop.
yeah.
Jack's number 2 article, which this picture here is. I'm a little afraid to talk about this article. Jack, I don't remember this article at all. Is this something you just found? Was this
No,
possible
no.
notes? I don't remember talking about.
possible notes.
It's part of the newsletter.
We're not doing possible notes. Possible notes aren't articles that we didn't talk about. So remember, there's notes. So when Alika, just so I can say, so throughout the week we put everything in possible notes, and then we pick articles from possible notes into notes that we're going to talk about.
Sustained.
It's fine. It's fine. So we'll talk about. I mean, it's totally fine. But the point of today's show was to talk about articles that we've talked about.
Well, it was
good,
like
man.
under
Slowly.
possible, but it was also under episode. So I wasn't too sure what, and I don't remember us talking about it, but it was under the episode. So I was like, okay, so I guess it's by it.
Okay.
Well, let's
So-
talk about it now. Let's bring it
Yeah,
up.
we're gonna talk about it now. Exactly. So this is your
Big
number
preamble.
2 article. Yes. So video game development in Iran, limited tools, front companies, and a specter of war, by the WashingtonPost.com. So Jack, what's this article about?
So it's basically talking about oil in 2020. There was that whole missile crisis and the whole idea of we're going to World War III or going to war with Iran. And so this article was made during that whole time, but also showcasing the game development side of it. Well, it was being affected by it, but all these decisions that they couldn't really make for themselves, but they just had to adapt. And I really felt like this was the start of me going into all of these articles about New Zealand, about Poland, about
Cool.
all of these other nations. And not because of, it's talking about war, but it's mainly talking about the Iranian perspective. And I didn't really, before this article, thought of, there was like different perspectives. There was like the European and then there was the American. That's it for me, at the very least, before going into this article. And that's where that's my main reason for picking this article out of the episodes. But yeah.
It's not even. That's the thing. Like, in just skimming this article, this guy is so anxious about war, and I can totally understand why. Because it's not really a war between Iran and the U.S. It's the U.S. is gonna come attack us. It's not a war.
Right.
Jack,
Like, yeah.
Jack. I apologize. We did talk about this article.
Oh yes. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was,
No, I'm
was
going through the article now. I'm like, oh yeah,
We did talk about
So,
this. That's right.
So okay, sorry. We will 5 articles every week. We started with 10, and then we went down to like 5 because
Yeah.
go so long. But anyway, so one of the things that they talk about in this article, Alika, is how difficult it is to make games in Iran. Like they don't know, so they can spend like 5 years on a project. They put it on Steam or whatever, and then the country contacts Steam and tells them take it down.
Oh wow.
So it's just so it's almost like I remember reading and or watching a documentary on Vice or something about what it means to be a Christian in China. So they have to like meet, it's like death, like
Big deal.
it's like so they would like meet in these like they would go through all these means to like meet up and like do their like Sunday worship or whatever, and like if they get caught, like who knows what happens, right? So it's like very similar. I mean, not to that extent, obviously, but I mean,
they can teach me about the Bible. They can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? No, right?
You got faith. This ain't just because your friends are. You really believe in this. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So like they say in here they use VPNs and like IP proxies and things like that just to make a game, man. Like,
wow.
Like, oh yeah. So it's one of those. It's like you got it easy kind of things,
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of those hardcore. Yeah, this is a very, very Jack article.
Yeah, this was during my glory days of Lico.
Just this image. Like when I saw this image, like I'm getting better at controlling my facial expressions, I guess, but I did like an internal eye roll, like all right, Jack, let me guess. Call of Duty, Iran 2.0, and then like here I go again, making my judgments, and then like I read it to him like, oh, actually, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Let me move down my hipster mustache. Excuse me.
Crank it down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
I think from this article being that hardcore, it also gave me that mindset like I should read up on different countries' perspective even more. And so like not it for me the whole joke with Poland, Poland strong, whatever, but they in all honesty, if it wasn't for this article, I probably wouldn't have changed that much. Like picking wise, I want to say, because
I thought you were gonna say, all joking aside, I say Poland strong, but honestly, Poland strong.
But honestly, really, guys, Poland really is strong. I just gotta say it.
That's what I thought.
Back to the article.
I'm like over here talking Poland this, Poland strong, whatever. But really, guys, Poland is really strong.
Well, yeah, I can see that how being so wrapped up in our own perspective and then seeing a completely different perspective, it opens up to the interaction between different cultural beliefs, because that's really what it comes down to, is cultural beliefs. That's why gaming brings a sense of belonging, because it is an external cultural belief right there. Everybody can gather on this.
One last thing from the article, quote from it: "We want to bring people together, and that's been difficult here. So even though it may be difficult in your area or maybe harder to reach, it is still a faith worthy of doing it. If you truly believe in what you're doing, then do it. And these guys are a testament to it. Hopefully they're still here."
Hopefully, yes.
There's one thing I put in my journal. I find myself, because I do a lot of like, what is it called, like automatic writing now. I do a lot of like I put a timer and then I just start going, and even if I stop, I just think of like a color, red, and then I just say something about red, the color red, and then boom, and then I just start like journaling. I just just
Oh, that's
practicing
cool.
this kind of yeah, just to kind of unconsciously get stuff on paper, not like getting me out of the way, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I find myself like reviewing over the week, looking at my journal, is one thing that I say is, if you live in Hawaii / America, you literally have nothing to complain about. It's like, in
Yeah.
comparison to like, like some people really, really, really get it bad. And, all this, oh my God, this game is delayed, or, what do you mean you're out of show you poke? Just
Yeah.
like, I mean, I'm sure people got it bad too, but like really,
Everybody
like,
does. Yeah.
you've got clean water, you can pretty much guarantee that when you open the faucet, you got clean water, like just
Yeah.
that, like some people, they have to like hike, they gotta go fill up these freaking tubes.
They gotta walk 2 miles.
Yeah, like
to
really,
carry their water back home. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they gotta go like out. They have like no sanitation. They gotta go outside. They're, yeah. So stuff like that, and
Right.
again, making a game there. We've got nothing, like, oh, I don't feel like it today. Like, go ahead.
Yeah.
And they're not the only ones, because I remember we calling this article and then finding about the Czech article that we did a while back. Well, it was talking about how the Czech gaming was thriving, though it was secretive under the communist regime.
Yeah. Oh, Jack, I forgot. Okay, we got to do this again. No, that one was good. Oh my God, I forgot about that article. So these guys, Alika, they would make video games, okay? Like
Yeah.
just a regular video game, but they would hide like all this kind of like anti-war or whatever like stuff in the game. So you buy, like, these kids that buy the game, like, they didn't know really, like, it's a game about shooting people, but like they're like these movements were making all these games to like hide all these agendas in it that other agencies would know, but everybody was just like also just buying this game, not knowing that there's all this stuff in this game. And what was it, 80s, like late 80s, Jack?
It was during the 70s and up to the 90s.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah.
And it was up.
Dude,
it
isn't
was,
that the premise of Huli?
Yeah.
Like to hide instructions for a better world in a game.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
their story struck me as similar to theirs from Iran, because it is. And though oppression is different, like, oppression is oppression, no matter where you go to.
Man.
Like for us, we lost our culture and lost our history when America took over us. That's oppression. Well, in China or in Iran, they are already banning games if they're going up against their state of mind. That's oppression. Well, in Czechoslovakia at that time, KGB go make you go bye-bye.
Yeah. And there's different weight classes too, because I wanted to bring that out with what you're talking about, Jeff. With like we do have it easy. So there's different weight classes, I think, of like oppression or suffering, right? So if like we are battling it out in the featherweight class, where this is first world problems, right? We're battling out in the featherweight class. We're like, oh man, can't make my rent, or there's homelessness, horrible. But at the same time, there's still government aid for the homeless. There's still, you could still, go to 7-Eleven and jack a musubi and you still get to eat that day. The fact that there's the opportunity for you to get clean water and food, but that's looking at it at an absolute scale. So these guys in Iran and Czechoslovakia, they're in the super heavyweight class of oppression. Like, it doesn't matter how much I train as a featherweight. If I jump into the ring with a super heavyweight, that guy is probably going to destroy me in whatever the sport is. So like,
that's a really good analogy.
that's just what it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have the
Yeah,
option
so
to
I
go
think there's
steal a
different weight
musubi.
classes.
I love that. They don't
Yeah,
have that
they don't
option to go
have.
steal a
They don't
musubi,
have that.
you know, or go stand in front of a
Yeah,
7-Eleven and ask for change or whatever, right? You know, their
yeah,
7-Eleven is bombed out.
yeah. Like they're literally fighting for their lives. So there's just different weight classes.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
mean like we don't have oppression here, because there's
yeah,
definitely oppression
yeah,
here. But we're
yeah,
in the featherweight class. We're catching cracks,
yeah.
but we're not gonna go fight one super heavyweight. Yeah,
Right, right.
we're not gonna win.
Okay, for all those non-sports viewers out there, because I know there is some of you, that's Poland is
Yeah,
also
especially for
example.
a gaming podcast.
Right.
There we go. So everyone doesn't know, Poland
No.
would be the equivalent of Mike Tyson, and you can just knock out any.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You just
Sorry,
come
Jack, go
through,
ahead.
peekaboo.
Sorry, Jack. Go ahead. What
that was kind
non-Poland
of
thing were you about to say?
that was what I was gonna say. They
Okay.
so okay, I shut up now.
Oh, so he read your mind? Yeah. No.
Well,
That's-
no,
We got all right.
Because- because they them buying like 2 DCOs as a game
I'm
developers.
just focusing, man. That's gonna
But
be
yes, Poland is in the heavyweight class. I wouldn't say super heavyweight. I would say Iran is in the Iran, North Korea would be super heavyweights of oppression. But
wow. Can
Poland-
you imagine that?
Poland is right there.
Can
Yeah,
you
they-
imagine like
What?
these
Trying to
guys
make
in
a
North-
game in North Korea?
or just these like parents, like, you know, everyone goes to sleep at, you know, they got to go sleep at 8:30, you know, and then this mother and father gets up and they open up their floorboard and they take out these components and they're just making a game that they love, like, and it's like it's death, you know, it's like they find out, you know, that's
Yeah.
not approved by the state, like, talk about
The
state.
military comes in. Who's the hero of this game? Is it not great leader? Yeah. Then they get executed because the hero is not Kim Jong Un. Bruh. That's
Heavy.
I can't even think about that. That's like yeah, that's super heavyweight right there. But Poland is definitely in the very agile heavyweight. You know, they're short for their weight class, but they're very strong. They do a lot of isometrics. They come through just
But they also saw that like how gaming changed in Russia too, though it is still pretty bad.
So
We-
hilarious.
Like the game development over there has been coming to the European scale, and a lot of European game developers are saying we are nothing compared to these Eastern game devs because they have all of these years of trying to get their message across, especially hard when the audience are so like oppressed. So
Yeah, and it doesn't help that the belief, right, the general belief. I think that's really where the weight of oppression comes from, is not the oppressor, but the belief of those around you that you deserve the oppression. That's where the weight comes from. It doesn't really come from the person. So that's why I don't like. I used to be very militant, like I hate all this, you know, but it's not really about that. It's not aiming your hate at one person. It's the belief of everyone within your group. That's the long-lasting weight of oppression. And wrapping it back to the weight class analogy, what's the one thing that wins every fight? Cardio. You just persevere. And these guys, these super heavyweights, have that cardio. They got heavy cardio. They have to.
It's a long match.
Yeah, it's a real long match, especially in that kind of a situation. One wrong move. That's the thing in super heavyweight fights. One wrong move, you're getting your head knocked off. So you gotta move. You have to stay.
Wow.
You have to bounce. You gotta move. Yep.
All right. So video game development in Iran Limited tools, fund companies, and a specter of war by the Washington Post. Okay, so now we are going to Jack's number one pick. I apologize, Jack. And Jack, I was really surprised to see this as your number one. Like, I was
Really?
like, yeah. I think this was, you just talked about this one like our last episode or the episode before that, and that's cool. No, I'm glad that this had, and this is your number one, like the best article out of the whole year. I mean, first of all, it's not Poland related. So it just really just, I mean, like, wow, very cool. Jack, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this article. Please talk about also why you selected this as your number one, but also like what is this article about?
I'll be
Okay.
back. I'm listening.
So the article that I chose was how alternate reality games are
Oh, I
changing
didn't
the
even say it.
world
Sorry. Yes, thank you.
with Patrick Jogo and Kristen Scheisel, Simpson, Schult,
Shoot. German.
Schult. Okay, Schult. Okay, we go with Schult. And it's really, though it's a long article, it's really what I feel like gaming is going towards, eventually or indirectly, especially right now with a lot of more people getting more interactive in their daily lives, whether in China, whether in Iran, whether in Poland, or whether in the UK or New Zealand. Things that is really going to be a thing always is creativity. And I really think ARGs are going to be one of those ways where we're going to see a lot more game developers putting their hat into the ring. Maybe not for like 1,000 days or 100,000 days, like these great legends like I Love Bees or Cicada, but we're going to see ARGs taking more of a tone tone form. Well, game developers are using it to gain experience to what particular version of gaming they want to go into. Maybe they want to go into ball gaming. Maybe they want to go into mysteries, or maybe they want to go into video gaming. ARGs gives game developers that whole open box and that experience to where they could choose from, and they could really learn from what they could and what they can do and what they could improve upon, what they love and what they don't really love. Because yeah, quote from the article, this is interaction from the interviewer to Christian Schild. Schild? Schild.
Shield.
Shield. Shield. Okay.
Shield.
Then Christian and Paul. Okay, let's go. Quoting from the article. Okay, you guys use the word post-truth. What is
I don't know why you
post-truth?
have to yell. Shout!
That's how I say anything in German.
I think
It's like the words that's thrown at you. It's like, ah.
Yeah.
we have done that. Said I think that post-truth right now, the way that it's being used popularity is to think about what is to be in a world where science and reason and what we may call factual or truth with a capital T doesn't seem to have a kind of science with a large part of the population. Paul then responded, this is where we can really start to see how these alternate reality games could have the power to reshape the world that we all live in. Think of something like the QAnon conspiracy, and they go into detail with that. And but yeah, I really believe that, especially with our current project that we're doing, that it's going to affect gaming throughout the near future and far future.
Yeah, I don't think ARG is a played out game type. I think it's very very cool. There's, you know, extensive use of applications for it. I mean, anything that bridges, because there's something inherently. I mean, something that's like for ours, because of COVID, we had to change like our ARG a little bit, right? Where ideally, when we were beginning to design it, we were going to have the players actually take a selfie at those locations, right? It's kind of the idea, like they would have to kind of roam around and then find the place physically, because that's how like Ingress and all these other places, like you have to like get out and do these things. So that's cool. Like you're like bridging, you're kind of blurring the medium of like a tabletop experience and a digital experience, and then like getting outside and interacting with stuff. Yeah, I it's a very, 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 very powerful medium. Yeah, it's something that just really resonates with you. Yeah, Jack, this
Yeah.
ARG stuff. So let's put that on our 2022 project. Let's get back to making a proper
Yeah, let's put a pin in that.
ARG. Let's get back to doing something. Even something like just subtle, like we're playing this 10-year game or something like that, where we're like slowly putting the pieces out, every week or something, like a flyer here, we spill like a carton of eggs or something at a Safeway, but then all kind of just like all these like pieces just kind of lead up to something, like a commercial, like we were kind of like, we had this idea once where we were gonna design like a system online that produces. I'm kind of glad that we didn't do that. It'd be like bad timing. I mean, it would have been successful, but like the system online that creates fake news, right? Like,
Oh yeah. We remember we were talking about that.
It would take like information that kind of happened. So like
Joe Biden
July.
kills Osama bin Laden.
Okay, or someone near death McDonald's experience. Someone chokes on a chicken McNuggets, but then we put like meaning behind.
And then
like,
we write the interview.
Or just the person that choked. This is all the things that they've done beforehand. Like they were actually like the spy or whatever. Like, oh wait a minute, then was it a choking or was it intentionally? Did somebody make a chicken McNugget large for like this is all this like, but the system just spits out all this, or just takes like some kind of an article and then spits out some kind of response from it, right? We have no control over it, which I can imagine like that may have influenced agencies to like, hey, wait a minute, because it's all open source. They like look at the code.
Maybe we should assassinate these guys.
or use this, use these things and create like this, I don't know, Twitter bot or something. This Twitter user that goes and just takes just to, like you were saying, like to keep that division, right? Keep the division, keep people confused. You want everybody confused. You don't want anyone getting along. You get along, it's not profitable. Sorry, Jack.
You see, Igor, we do not need you because we
you see, Igor. I'm like, what? Oh, that's a Russian accent. Oh, okay.
Igor.
I know.
No. But
Yes, boss. Yes, man.
I will get it. I will get the chicken McNugget ready.
But that's how it was like, you see, Igor.
Okay,
all right.
how about...
So anyway, that's. Oh, go ahead, Jack. Please go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna do a different one, but it's das Alman people and.
Oh, okay. We're doing another impressionist hour.
All right. Aliko, what are your thoughts on this article?
Okay, wait, which one? Oh, yes, the ARGs.
ARG, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of living it.
Mm-hmm.
We see the evidence of all of that, and I think it's interesting that you like ARGs so much too, Jack, because I feel like you kind of live in one, just based on how our conversations that we've had and different things that we know about you. And again, that goes back to the magic of perspective. Just being able to accurately represent your perspective can change somebody else's life completely. It can make their life so much more full if you're able to translate your perspective. So, like, just knowing stuff about you, it feels like you live in an ARG, and I feel like that's why. Wow, you know what? We all do. We all do live in an ARG, and our rules are set by all the beliefs that we're taught. It's set by, Christians are Bible thumpers, and Dungeons and Dragon players are devil worshippers. We all live in our own ARG, and maybe that's why the ARGs are so powerful, because it gives you another life to live while living your life, and it just makes your life that much more full, which is the coolness of all of this. It brings people together, right?
Yeah.
Gaming.
And
So,
another thing that the article they mentioned, and we saw like for Iran and the Czechoslovak, is like ARGs don't have to be officially called an ARG. ARG is something that has a hidden meaning. So like for all of those game developers, that's their way of making ARGs, and that way is giving them their voices. Well, over here, it's more mainly focused on, okay, advertisement, or, this is a conspiracy mystery, or cicada, I have no idea what the hell that's for.
yeah, it's a super meta conspiracy game.
Speaking of ARG,
yeah.
I just got a whole bunch of Rocky texts. Sorry.
But like how you were saying,
how's he doing? Great. Moving on. Oh wow. Jeez. He
this
heard
is
that.
Rocky, open up.
All right. Any other closing thoughts on that article, Jack?
But also that it's like the ARGs will also be a derived variant from the different regions that you are in. Like for us, it was mainly focused on history. Well, I know in the mainland, it's focusing on, what? Let's sell copies of this game. Come on, let's do it. But yeah.
All right. That was all
like
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think it's just the intentions behind it, right? But that goes back to the beginning. What are the intentions? Like the super heavyweights of game design, they really just want to make a game. They're not in it for the profit.
Hey.
And back to you, Jeff.
All right. Sorry about that. So that's going to be how alternate reality games are changing the real world with Patrick Jagoda and Kristen Schilt. Shoot! By newsuchicago.edu. So that's going to wrap up our show. That was 10 articles.
Do you want to do honorable mentions?
We don't. Nope. That's good, Jack. We've got 3 hours of recording. So I think that's a. What are your honorable mentions?
That's epic. That's a Joe Rogan podcast right there.
It's like 6 hours of recording. What is this honorable? Jack, you always do this honorable mentions thing. Constraints. Practice constraints. 5 articles. That's it. No. What about 5 in a bonus article? What about 5 and 16 noteworthy articles?
Honorable
That's like, come on, dude. We've got 5. You pick 5.
It's like having a cake with only icing in the middle. There's only icing in the middle of the cake.
I know we're just eating cake, but I got a refrigerator of honorable brownies that we could also eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, but thank you guys for listening. This was a long one. And super freaking awesome. Alika, we need to do this more often. You belong on this show.
Yes.
This is amazing. You're holy crap, that was really good.
This is great.
So we're not hanging up yet. I'm gonna say bye to everybody. Aloha, shoots.